Hello and welcome back to Slide Into Sports live on 103.1 FM on WVLP Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Schleier, aka Schlide, and this past week of sports has been very interesting. Normally we talk about the rules and regulations and how they trickle down into other college sports and how it affects other sports besides rules that they're technically made for, but since college is kind of on the back burner because school is over for right now. It is the summer season after all. I mean, if the weather was any indicator of that, summer is here. And if you're watching on YouTube or other podcasting platforms like millions.co, you can probably see the sunburn on my face. I am very red right now. I'm probably as red as Larry Lobster, to be honest. I mean, the lighting right now is kind of helping my case, or I guess killing my case a little bit because it's not making me look very red. But trust me, I'm very red. But anyways, that's besides the point. So Enhanced Games was a couple of days ago. It was on Sunday, and this whole Enhanced Games experience that we were supposed to witness or play witness to, I thought they made it sound like there's going to be a lot more world records broken than what were. And yeah, there was only one world record broken out of the three sports, not even just in swimming, but out of the three sports that they had athletes participating for. Just one record was broken, and there is a whole controversial story about that we are going to get to. And then we're also going to be talking about the NBA playoffs. There is some pretty interesting drama going on with the NBA playoffs in both the eastern side and the western side of the bracket. So we're going to be getting into that, and those are really the two things that we're going to be getting into, but pretty in depth today. So, So with that being said, let's get right into the Enhanced Games. So, like I said in the lead-in, only one world record was broken at the Enhanced Games. That was the 50-meter freestyle, which was broken by Greek swimmer Christian Golkomiev, who swam a 20.81. The previous world record, or the previous and official world record, was 20.88 held by Cameron McAvoy of Australia. And he had some things to say on social media that we're going to get to in a second. But like I said in the intro, one world record broken out of more than 20 events. I mean, that's pretty abysmal. It's definitely, I don't think that's what they wanted. The people there, at least like the broadcast, was also kind of a little fishy, to say the least. It didn't seem like it was too well run. There was several broadcast interruptions that happened, which kind of killed their viewership a little bit. The viewership of the Enhanced Games on average was sitting around 60,000 to 75,000 fans across all platforms like YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, and Kick. Was a 6.5 hour free broadcast, which ultimately generated over 1.4 million views on YouTube alone. Which, I mean, you look at this at face value, not comparing it to anything else, and you're like, oh, that's not too bad. 1.4 million views on YouTube isn't terrible. But when you compare it to the Olympics and events like the Olympics, where the Enhanced Games is kind of challenging the drug policy, essentially, of the IOC and those international organizations, the Olympics generates tens of millions of viewers. So Enhanced Games did not really come close to the Olympics on the viewership end of it, like, at all. Uh, there was no, so Roku Sports is technically the, I guess, official broadcaster, if you want to call it an official broadcaster. I'm not necessarily sure if I would call them an official broadcaster. It's just me, but and that's partially because last week I didn't realize Roku Sports did stuff like that because they're pretty small, a pretty small broadcasting or broadcaster in comparison to like NBC, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, NBC Sports, which, I mean, imagine if Enhanced Games was able to pull NBC, but there was no way NBC was going to do that. Especially, there's just a little bit of a conflict of interest because NBC could have picked that up and they could have easily been down talking the Enhanced Games the whole time. So I don't think Enhanced Games would have been really interested in what NBC was going to offer them. But I don't think NBC was really going to be interested in what Enhanced Games was going to offer them because NBC has been broadcasting the Olympics for a long, long time now. And and that's one of the biggest things that NBC broadcasts, at least in terms of sports. The Olympics is, I mean, when you think of the Olympics, you think of NBC because they're so, like, they've been together for so long. I don't think NBC would have jeopardized their partnership with the Olympics because they basically have been guaranteed to broadcast every single Olympics. They always get the bid for that. So, yeah, there was no way that NBC was going to be one of those broadcasters that was going to do that. Fox Sports or CBS Sports, I could maybe see it, but with NBA playoffs going on right now, I don't think they would have wanted to take viewers' eyes off of that. So that was a whole thing as well, or at least like in terms of the broadcasting. I think that's one of the things that maybe held the Enhanced Games back, just because they were kind of going up against a lot. But yeah, with the world record, the controversy. So essentially, the controversy with the Enhanced Games, just to sum it up in as few words as I possibly can, just so that we can really get into it, is people are asking whether or not the Enhanced Games clock was synced properly for Christian Golkomiv's 20.81 world record 50 free swim. So, on the broadcast, 20.81 appeared about a little less than an arm length before he even touched the wall. So people were immediately speculating as to whether or not the clock was synced properly to the broadcast. Now, that kind of makes sense because, like I said a little bit earlier, there was some technical difficulties with the broadcast several times where they did have to take a break and all that stuff. I guess they must not have done like a test or something, or, you know, like a test to make sure that everything was going to work properly, or there was something astronomical that happened. This is a facility. I mean, they were doing this in a facility that they built up, so I imagine there was going to be some technical difficulties. Not entirely surprised. Some viewers, or so the conspiracy, so I'm getting this from SwimSwam, at least at the moment, but SwimSwam says some viewers have already pointed out that they hand-timed the 50 free and clocked a 21.0 or 21.1 rather than a 20.81. The video below uses the clock on the screen, which shows Golkomiv a stroke away from the wall when the clock is at a 20.81. This video also synced the 0.00 mark to when the light went off on the starting blocks. So it sounds like the clock, or at least based on what was said in the SwimSwam article, it sounds like the clock started a tad late. It didn't start when it was supposed to start. It seems like it popped up on the screen when the starter started the swimmers, and then it started little less than a second later, about a half a second later, based on the hand time that SwimSwam is providing, which is a 21.0, 21.1. So it'd be about, I guess, they're essentially what they're saying is that there was a 0.3, 0.2 second delay on the clock. So that's something. There are several motivations, though, and this is why this is such a controversy right now, is that, again, kind of going back to what I said before, this would have been the only world record that was set on the day for the enhanced games. So if Golkomeev did clock a 21:0:21.1, then there would have been 0 world records broken at the enhanced games. Now, obviously, that would have been a really bad look for the enhanced games. Them getting 1 world record kind of saved them a little bit. But if there was 0 world records broken, then the entire legitimacy of the event would have been completely gone, and they probably would not do it again next year. 50 free was the final event of the 6-hour games, and again, no world records were posted yet. So some explanations could be that the cameras were just not synced up to the clock for the race. The clock actually was not even displayed during the first swimming race of the night, which was the men's 50 backstroke. There were some other observations that included the men's 100 breast was the only race after where the touch was filmed from overhead. And it does appear to be slightly out of sync with the split. So clearly there was something wrong with the broadcasting system in terms of like the cameras being in sync with each other and the cameras being in sync with the clock. So something happened. Not entirely sure what the technical difficulty was, but there was obviously some kind of technical difficulty there. This also would not be the first time that the clock would have been out of sync. During the first prelim session of the 2024 Paris Olympics, the clock was displayed to viewers, or the clock that was displayed to viewers was about 2 seconds faster than the official results shown. Obviously, they fixed that later on, but Olympics, or at least, the swimming portion of the Olympics goes on for 7 to 8 days. It's a really long period of time. So there is plenty of time for the broadcasters working in Paris to fix the problem, to identify the problem as well. So yeah, it wasn't as noticeable as what happened with the enhanced games, because the enhanced games was a 1-day, 6.5-hour long event. Something else to know. Golkomeev has been as fast as 20.89 before, as he swam that time last year in a supersuit and as an enhanced games athlete. He did this for the promotion of the event around this time last year. That's what SwimSwam is referring to in this article. He also swam a 46.6 in the 100 free earlier in the session, which is faster than his lifetime best as a non-enhanced athlete. With his 20.81, Golkomeev earned a $1 million bonus in addition to the $250,000 for winning the 50 free. So he ends up walking away with $1.25 million just after the 50 free swim. The world record, like I said before, sits currently at 20.88, which is held by Cam McAvoy, who actually swam that time earlier this year at the 2026 China Swimming Open. And McAvoy already took to his Instagram story with 2 memes. The first one said, "Seriously," with a question mark and an exclamation point. That's all you got? And he posted that with the picture that's associated with it is Gordon Ramsay yelling at one of the Hell's Kitchen chefs. So, yeah, that's the origin of that one. And then the second one was a picture of Space Jam, the first one, not the second one, where you see Michael Jordan in the center. He's about to take a jump ball against one of the larger monsters, kind of implying, like Kim essentially in this meme is implying that he's Michael Jordan, and the 4 people surrounding him are the Enhanced Games athletes. And you guys know what happens at the end of Space Jam. Michael Jordan's team ends up winning. So I think we could possibly see a world record performance by Cam McAvoy by World Championships this year. So, I mean, that's going to be something to look forward to later this summer. Also, for the Enhanced Games, there was the venue. So they had a very unique venue. It was a 4-lane pool with a track surrounding it and also an area to do the weightlifting portion of the Enhanced Games. So the attendance for the Enhanced Games was, hold on one second. The attendance of the Enhanced Games held, and this is actually a little bit smaller than I expected, because when I was looking around on the broadcast, I mean, the seats looked completely full, but they did also have a lot of enhanced seating. I know what I said. Enhanced seating, Enhanced Games, whatever. But the point is that the seating at the Enhanced Games was to make the point of it was to make the viewer as comfortable as possible and also keep them as entertained as possible. So, in all honesty, the total attendance at the Enhanced Games was around 2,285 to 2,500 spectators. So, not even 3,000 spectators were in attendance at the Enhanced Games. So, I think that's something important to note as well. I mean, you add that to the 1.4 million that was on YouTube, like the viewers on YouTube, and there's nothing really there. So, yeah, I think this turned out to be a complete flop, at least in more of a way than I thought it was going to be. And honestly, I'm not too upset. Another story actually regarding the Enhanced Games that was kind of ironic. That's really the only word I can put with this story, but there were several athletes that were competing at the Enhanced Games. One of them I mentioned in either the previous broadcast or the broadcast before that. The clean athletes that participated in the Enhanced Games won their events. They won their events. And one of those athletes was Hunter Armstrong, who competed, I believe he competed in backstroke. Okay, yeah, so he won in the 50-meter backstroke. There was also two other athletes that were in track. You had Fred Curley, who won the 100-meter sprint with a time of 9.97, and Tristan Evelyn, who won the women's 100-meter sprint with a time of 11.25. Again, these are clean athletes. These are athletes that did not take any of the PEDs that Enhanced Games gave them. Now, I said this on the previous broadcast. You did not need, like, if you wanted to compete at the Enhanced Games, you did not need to take any kind of performance-enhancing drugs. You're allowed to, but you don't have to. And these athletes chose not to. And in a way, I think it teaches a very valuable lesson in terms of, how much performance-enhancing drugs really affects athlete performance. Now, sometimes people use these performance-enhancing drugs for recovery. Sometimes they do it to help with muscle growth, to enhance the size of their muscles. And this just shows that you don't really need to have performance-enhancing drugs. You really don't. I mean, sure, it probably helps with those things, the muscle growth and the recovery. But at the end of the day, you got to be good at the sport that you're doing. Sometimes, introducing a PED into your routine can throw you off. Maybe Enhanced Games tries again next year. Maybe they get more world records next year. Maybe they get 4 world records instead of 1. Who knows? I haven't seen them announce anything for next year as of yet. I wouldn't be surprised if they announce it today, tomorrow, this week. Maybe they do it next month, right before a big championship swim meet, because they kind of did that last year. They announced it during the USA Swimming Toyota National Team Championships, which was the World Championship, which was the trials for the World Championship team that year. So they announced it really close to that time, so that became a hot topic during the meet. So, again, what a story the enhanced games just kind of became. I mean, I don't really know how else to put it, but yeah, definitely was not what I was expecting to see. I was expecting to see at least like 3 or 4 world records broken, and then it was going to be just this stew of controversy and a lot of angry people online. But no, honestly, it seems like more people, well, I mean, I'm seeing a lot more trolling online than I'm seeing, anger, I guess. Like, I don't know. But anyways, Indy 500 was on, I think it was the same day, actually. I think they actually occurred on the same day. But anyway, Indy 500 had just an absolutely historic outcome. Felix Rosenqvist won the 110th Indianapolis 500, and he edged out David Malukas by 0.02 of a second. He edged him out by 0.0233. I mean, if you watched it on the screen, it was like that much. It was a very slim margin. David Malukas, he was ahead on the final turn. It was yellow because one of the other cars hit the wall, and they weren't taking any chances at that point. They just want to make sure that everybody was going to be safe on the final lap because there was an accident earlier in the race. In the middle of the race, there was a lot of yellow because of the rain and because of the accident. So the refs, the officials, were not going to take any chances. So they waved the yellow flag with about 4 laps left in the race. They started waving the checkered flag once, or not checkered flag, but the flag with the final lap. I believe it would be the green flag, at least in this case, just to show that the racers were able to race. But they gave the all clear with 2 turns to go. And with Indy 500, there's a zone where the lead car can accelerate and essentially dictate when everybody else can accelerate. So nobody can speed past the lead car until they reach the end of the zone, which normally, or at least based on the graphic that was displayed for the Indy 500, was at around the end of the turn. Malukas accelerated going into the turn. So there was still about 50 yards where he probably didn't need to accelerate, but I think he was trying to use the momentum of that turn to bring up, just to maximize his speed. And Malukas he figured out a way to get around him after the final turn and edged him out. I mean, that's plain and simple. But with the margin of victory of 0.0233 seconds, it was the slimmest margin of victory in the history of the Indy 500 ever. It's never been that close. So this is just absolutely historic. And obviously, Malukas, if you watch the post-race interview was absolutely devastated. But Felix, when he won his, I think it was the second Indy 500 win for Meyer Shank Racing, which was that's who Felix Rosenqvist was racing for. It was their second one, I think, in 50 years or something like that. It was a really long time. It's been a while since Meyer Shank Racing has won the Indy 500. And his car specifically was Morgan Wallen Radio. Like, he was representing also Morgan Wallen Radio. It was on his uniform. They made some jokes about it in the interview, which I thought was kind of funny. He's like, "Oh, I don't know if Morgan's watching, but we did it." And yeah, I mean, it's just Indy 500 is just an absolutely crazy event. I mean, even just comparing enhanced games, like enhanced games had, like, their seating was all about trying to make the viewer that's in attendance as comfortable as possible. Indy 500, they're trying to fit as many people in there as possible. I mean, there so many people there. I think there's around 320,000 people, that were in attendance at the Indy 500, because they have the seating all around the track, but they also have the snake pit in the middle. So everybody just kind of gets crammed in there. And it's just an absolutely historic event. Like, there's just so much that leads up into it. A lot of festivities as well that lead into the Indy 500. So it's just a very, very highly anticipated event. And yeah, I mean, just thinking in terms of like 2,500 people versus 320,000 people is just absolutely insane. And I'm sure the viewership also, I mean, I don't know what the viewership was for the Indy 500, like on Fox and the other broadcasts, but just comparing it to the enhanced games, I don't even think you can compare it, because I think it would have been leaps and bounds more than whatever enhanced games viewership was, which was about 1.4, 1.5 million. So yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy. But before we talk about the NBA playoffs and some of the crazy stories regarding the NBA playoffs, I have a message from our sponsor.
This broadcast is brought to you by Authentic Impact, a Northwest Indiana executive coaching practice working with family businesses to ensure their legacy. When you started your business, you made a promise to do things differently, better than anyone else. Over time, as the business grows, that promise can get diluted or even lost. Penny Schleier at Authentic Impact helps family business owners reignite that promise into team engagement, performance, and hiring, so your passion becomes the heartbeat of your company again. Learn more at authentic-impact-coaching.com.
All right, let's start off with the East. So the New York Knicks, they sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers in 4 games. Absolute pure domination by the Knicks. Now, with this sweep, they move on to the NBA championship. And this is the first time that the Knicks have ever made the NBA championship since 1999. 1999. So this is the first time in the 21st century that the New York Knicks have made it to the NBA championship series. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And the way they did it was just, they just dominated their way through. I mean, the Atlanta Hawks gave them their biggest challenge, and then they go dominate the Sixers, and then they go and kill the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now they get to wait on either Oklahoma City or San Antonio and play one of them. They're going to be nice and rested before they play in the championship series. I mean, this is really looking very favorable for the New York Knicks. And that's who I predicted to be champion. So I'm feeling pretty good about my pick right now. Let's just say that. But anyways, one of the interesting stories on the Eastern side was Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Kenny Atkinson, sparking heavy backlash after claiming his team analytically won 2 out of the 3 games prior to Game 4 against the New York Knicks, facing a 0-3 series deficit. So this happened before Game 4 was played. And he basically was pointing out the scoring metrics. So, in his statement, he goes, analytically, I think we won the expected, I said 3 out of 3. We're 2 out of 3 in the expected wins. I don't know if you guys follow that, the expected score, and we've won 2 out of 3. Well, hate to say it, Kenny, but expected score doesn't matter when there's the actual score. So maybe instead of focusing on the analytical wins, maybe you focus on getting actual wins, tangible wins. I mean, you guys had the talent to at least get one win out of the New York Knicks, but you ended up not pulling through. Why didn't you pull through? Because, I mean, kind of like you said, actually, you said that you were shooting below average. You were underperforming. Now, the underperforming isn't in comparison to the regular season and your previous playoff games. So, yeah, you guys were underperforming. That's not really new information for anybody that was watching the series or anybody that was paying any sort of attention to the series at all. But saying that, like, I don't know, saying that, oh, analytically we won is kind of like saying, oh, well, like, let's just go back to March Madness. I think it was 2023 when this happened, but when Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson, right? Let's just say they lose to they did lose to Fairleigh Dickinson, but let's just say Matt Painter goes to the press conference and he goes, well, analytically, we won the game. I mean, our shooting percentage was better than theirs all year. We had more blocks than them all year, blah, blah, blah. And he's going into all these stats about how analytically they won. But on the scorecard, they lost. That's essentially what Kenny Atkinson is doing in this story, like just trying to cope with the fact that they lost 3 games, and they probably could have won 2. I think they could have won 2. They definitely could have won the first one. They had a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter that they blew. They gave the game away. There's been a crazy amount of backlash for this story as well. The unorthodox defense was immediately mocked by fans, media members, and former players alike for focusing on analytics rather than the actual scoreboard. Again, like I said before, why does the analytical score matter when there's an actual score? And what matters more, the analytical score or the actual score? Well, I mean, you need the actual score to actually move on in the playoffs, or at least solidify yourself in the series, not hypothetical wins. What are we, the SEC in college football? I don't know. But, I mean, that was just a little light joke, so don't take that. Any SEC fans listening, don't take that too personally. I'm more attacking the Cleveland Browns here and Kenny Atkinson, because why on earth, like, at least after the game, like before the game, I really, like, hypotheticals I don't really mind before the games, but after the games, you're saying that, oh, well, we should be here, but we're not here, but you're not there. So just, like, got to stay present in the moment. This dude was not. And I think that's part of the reason why they ended up getting swept, because he was so focused on the previous games. It's like you can't focus too much on the previous games and their outcomes. You got to just move on, try to get a win, try to develop some kind of momentum against the New York Knicks, who hadn't lost a game, or they only lost 2 games in the NBA playoffs going into this series with you guys. You guys definitely needed to win that first game, I will say that much, to kind of halt their momentum a little bit. But when you guys gave up that 22-point lead, that series is over. You guys were going to get swept. That was it. But so some of the analysts, their commentary, Stephen A. Smith says That moment is why Kenny Atkinson deserves to be an assistant coach. You are down 3-0 in a conference finals, and what comes out of your mouth is, we really did well in 2 out of the 3 games analytically. You can't say that. Again, reiterating my point right there, Josh Hart says, the Knicks forward echoed the skepticism by bringing up a well-known quote from his college coach, Jay Wright. At a certain point, analytics are like a lamppost to a drunk person. You can lean on them, but it won't get you home. Okay, that's actually kind of a crazy but true analogy. And what an analogy to bring in for this. I mean, that's pretty spot on by Josh Hart right there. And then Eddie Johnson says that he voiced his frustration on social media, expressing disbelief that a coach would claim a 2-1 series lead analytically while actually being down 3-0. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't claim a 2-1 lead in a playoffs where you're down 3-0. I mean, on paper, you're down 3-0. I mean, before the series played out, on paper, you guys probably would be up 2-0. But no, those games were played. So the analytical, series outcome does not matter. Does not matter. If it was all just analytical outcomes, why would there be a playoffs to go to the NBA championship? What are we doing? Just absolutely drives me crazy. Obviously, Cleveland, after losing, there was James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. Interesting combo, to say the least, but James Harden is kind of known for not performing great in the playoffs. In this playoffs, especially just defensively, wasn't there. The effort just was not there on the defensive end. Just not a great defensive player. And then, I mean, he's great offensively, but any team that he's on, it feels like they ride or die on James Harden's offensive performance. Cleveland did not have the depth that the New York Knicks had. Plain and simple. They did not have the depth, and it showed. I mean, it really did show. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I can really say about that. I mean, you look at the outcomes of these games that they played. I mean, the game 4, the one that was played yesterday, 130 to 93. 130 to 93. Absolutely crazy. But let's look at the other games, shall we? There's also game 3, 121 to 108. And then game 2, 109 to 93. That one was a little bit closer. But as the series went on, after game 1, when they had to go into overtime, they gave up that 22-point lead. They lost by 11. After that, it slowly became less and less close. New York just kept extending the margin of victory with each game. Now, I don't know about you, but analytically, that doesn't really look very good to me. So, yeah, maybe, instead of focusing on the analytics of, what could have been, maybe you focus on trying to figure out how to beat the team that you're playing in the game that you're going to be playing hours from when you're doing a pregame press conference. I don't know. I mean, just seems so out of touch for me. Just way out of touch, not in the moment of the series at all. And that kind of goes back to Stephen A's remark. I mean, maybe this guy should just be an assistant coach. I mean, if he's going to be making comments like that, then maybe he should be an assistant coach. All right, moving on now to the Thunder versus Spurs. Now, there's a little bit more drama in the West, simply because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Thunder and their flopping. But, and this might be a little bit of a hot take, but some of the outcomes in the Thunder and Spurs games kind of came down to free throws. I mean, you look at the this game two. Game two, the Thunder won 122 to 113. Now, for the free throws, San Antonio didn't do too bad. They shot 15 for 17. They were 88%. But you look at the amount of shots that they took, and it was really not a lot. At least the field goals were not a lot. They shot 10 less field goals. They took more three-point shots, but I mean, it was not enough. I mean, they just plain simple. I mean, Oklahoma City just kind of dog walked them in that game. But the free throws was just not good in game three for the San Antonio Spurs. So San Antonio lost this game 123 to 108. Now, looking at the free throws, they both had the same amount of free throws. Oklahoma City made one more than San Antonio did. But when San Antonio was missing their free throws, it was at crucial points in the game. Oklahoma City was already in the lead when they were missing their free throws. That's when San Antonio's got to capitalize and start making more free throws if they want to develop some kind of momentum, especially with the flopping. I mean, that's a whole other topic as well. The flopping that Oklahoma City does, or at least the way they do it, is very intricate and calculating, and just it's hard to fathom. It drives me nuts when I watch them play. It's really hard to watch Oklahoma City play, but I guess they win games, so it is what it is. But the Spurs, when they're at the free throw line, they need to make their shots, especially when they're at home. Like game three, it was an issue for me just because they were at home. They had the crowd behind them. The crowd was really loud. It was a lit environment. And the free throws, I think, were kind of putting them out just a little bit. When they were missing the free throws, it kept the Spurs just enough out of reach for the Thunder to just kind of comfortably maintain about a 10-point lead. Now, mind you, in this game, the Spurs started off up 15-0. They had a 15-0 lead at the beginning of the game, and they lost by 15 points. So just not a great performance necessarily in games 2 and 3 by San Antonio, but then they absolutely dominated the Thunder 103 to 82 a couple of nights ago in game 4. In game 4, Wemby was just on point. He made a half-court shot. It was kind of crazy, but both teams didn't really play all that well. I mean, you look at the score, 103 to 82, not a very high-scoring game. You look at the shooting percentages. I mean, neither team was above 40% in field goal shooting, and Oklahoma City was at a big low on the three-point shooting percentage. They were 18% from the three-point line. San Antonio really wasn't that much better. They were 27%, but just abysmal. And San Antonio was surprisingly getting the whistle this game. I think part of it was because Shea he was trying to not flop as much, because before game 4, there was this statistic that came out with regards to falling after the shot. Whether you get a foul or not get a foul, or just in general fall after getting the shot. The players that were compared on this stat line, or like in the specific stat graphic that I'm pulling up, are all players that are in the playoffs that are either notorious for flopping or just Victor Wembanyama. The idea of this graph, or the putting together of this graph, was to compare Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to Victor Wembanyama in terms of who gets the whistle more for falling after getting a shot. So the first one is, and there's 3 of these little graphs, by the way. There's 5 players. There's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, James Harden, Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, and Victor Wembanyama. These are 5 of the most notable players in the playoffs. 2 of them recently just got eliminated, but that's besides the point. The first one is, how often does SGA fall on non-fouled shots? Looking at field goal attempts where there wasn't a foul call this playoff, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander falls the most compared to 4 high-scoring peers. So these are all, like, the players that I mentioned. I said they were highly notable, but it's for their scoring. So Shai Gilgeous-Alexander fell 20 times. James Harden fell 19 times. Jalen Brunson fell 19 times. Donovan Mitchell has fallen 26 times. And Victor Wembanyama has fallen once. The shots taken, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander took 187 shots. James Harden took 219 shots. Jalen Brunson took 240 shots. Donovan Mitchell took 342 shots. And Victor Wembanyama took 164 shots. So just comparing these numbers, so 10 out of 187 is 10.7% of the shots. That was the amount of shots that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was falling. James Harden was behind him with 8.7%, Jalen Brunson at 7.9%, Donovan Mitchell with 7.6%, and Victor Wembanyama with a 0.6%. Okay, but what about the fouled shots? Well, this one's even worse for SGA. So it says, how often does SGA fall on fouled shots? Looking at shooting fouls this playoff, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander falls more often than not and at a significantly higher rate compared to 4 high-scoring peers. So the 4 high-scoring peers are the same 4 people besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that I had mentioned before: James Harden, Victor Wembanyama, Jalen Brunson, and Donovan Mitchell. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 19 falls, 37 shots. So he, for each of the shots that he got a call, 51.4%. So basically every other shot or every other fall that Shai has, he's at the free throw line. James Harden, 12 for 41, 29.3%. I mean, that's a huge gap between those 2 players. Then you have Victor Wembanyama, who fell 7 times, 28 shots, 25%. Jalen Brunson fell 5 times, 26 shots, 19.2%. Donovan Mitchell fell 5 times, 28 shots, 17.9%. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, 51%. 51% of the time that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander falls to the ground after taking a shot, it's called a foul. Absolutely insane. And then the final one. How often does SGA fall on all shots? Looking at all shots, including shooting fouls this playoff, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander falls about twice as often as 4 high-scoring peers collectively. Again, the same 4 peers I mentioned before. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 19 falls, 24 shots. The fall percentage is 17.4%. James Harden was behind him by about 5 percentage points, fell 31 times, 260 shots. So his fall percentage, 11.9%. Jalen Brunson, about 3 percentage points behind James Harden with 9%. Fell 24 times, fell 24 times out of 266 shots, so his fall percentage, 9.0%. Donovan Mitchell fell 31 times out of 370 shots. His fall percentage, 8.4%, so around the same percentage as Jalen Brunson. Victor Wembanyama fell 8 times out of 192 shots, 4.2%. So Victor Wembanyama has, by far, out of these 5 athletes, the best fall percentage, at least in terms of, having the lowest fall percentage. If you have the highest fall percentage, then that's why people are mad. That's why people are mad about what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander does with the way he plays basketball. And it's not even just Shai that does this either. There's a lot of people that, at least on OKC, that do the exact same thing. I'm sure Shea probably taught them this, or maybe the coach taught them this. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, absolutely terrible and completely unethical. The graph that I pulled it from threads from FireRock 31, which was on the NBA threads. And this graph was posted 4 days ago. So this graph was posted after the outcome of Game 3. And the outcome of Game 3, there was a lot of Spurs fans that were really pissed off because there was a lot of calls that were going Oklahoma City's way that probably should not have gone their way. I mean, even in Game 4, there was a couple where I was very confused as to what the call was. Just ultra sensitive to Oklahoma City and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but the Spurs figured out how to get around it, and they just maintained their lead the whole time. I mean, they were shooting a lot better from the free throw line in that fourth game of the series. So, yeah, I mean, they were 16 for 18. No, they were 24 for 32 at the free throw line, which is one of their better free throw percentages. I think it was their second best of the day. Oklahoma City only got to take 18 free throws. So, yeah, you could tell that even just by looking at that statistic alone that Shea was purposefully trying not to fall as much, because if he just kept falling and ignored the points that people are making about the flopping that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is doing, that Oklahoma City is doing, the way Oklahoma City plays, it would be undeniable if he just kept doing it in that game. I'm sure the officials that were going to be officiating that game also probably saw this, and they were like, oh, we better start not calling all these falls for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, because then people are going to look into us and they're going to think that we're rigging the game for Shai in Oklahoma City. So I think that also had something to do with the free throw disparity, was the fact that the officials were scared, or I should say the referees. I always say officials just because I used to swim, and we always called the referees officials. We don't call the, I don't know. It's the same meaning, different term, but in the NBA, they're called referees. I don't know. But anyways, I think they saw these graphs and they realized, okay, we got to do something about this and change our ways. The tables were actually created also by Tom Haberstroh from Yahoo Sports with Data Wrapper. He used Data Wrapper as the software to create the graphs. So just a little bit of credit to give out there. But yeah, right now, my prediction, I think I said that the Spurs are going to win in 6. That pick could still stand. I mean, there is technically 3 games left, but that could change if the San Antonio Spurs win the first and second game, or the next 2 games. Then it would be Spurs in 6, and then it would be the Spurs versus the Knicks. Okay, I just rhymed. I didn't even mean to do that. I'm so sorry. If you cringed on the other side of the radio, I deeply apologize, but it just kind of happened naturally. But anyways, what do you get? I am curious to hear you guys' thoughts on the Thunder and the Spurs. The last little thing that I'm going to talk about before I sign off today is what the Spurs, what the Thunder do to draw these calls. So essentially, what the Thunder do is they do step backs. Like, they'll do step backs, they'll fake shooting to get the player that's defending them to jump, and then they jump into that player. So if I'm shooting the ball and I, fake it, I go like this, but I don't shoot it. It's just a pump fake. I do a pump fake. I get you to jump up in the air. You can't really control where you're going in the air. Once you're going up or forward, that's it. Like, you can't really fight gravity. So what Shea in Oklahoma City does is they then jump into you as if they're going into a shooting motion. If they go into a shooting motion, then it's technically a defensive foul. That sends Shea and his little Oklahoma City cronies to the free throw line. As you can tell, I really do not like Oklahoma City or the way they play. So, yeah. But that's essentially how they get to the free throw line almost every single time. They get the player that's defending them to jump up because they can't control where they are. They jump up and they jump into them. Now, something the Spurs did really well in Game 4 was they were really physical with Oklahoma City, and they were able to kind of put them in their place. So if they tried doing any of their little antics, they were just going to get themselves hurt, which is also part of the reason why I hate the way that they play, is because it's so easy to kind of it's easy to counter that. I mean, if you're going to play dirty, all you got to do is just be physical, and if you play dirty because it's not a natural thing to do in the game, you're going to get yourself hurt. So, yeah. With that being said, that's all that we got time for today. If you missed the first part of the broadcast or want to just watch a previous broadcast to maybe, look back and see what I'm referencing sometimes, because I do reference some things from previous broadcasts, you can go to millions.co, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Patreon, other podcasting platforms, and the previous broadcasts are there for you to watch and listen to. I also post on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, sometimes Twitter. So most of the time when I'm on Twitter, though, I'll just be responding to other people's posts. I don't normally do my own posts because I'll repost and then quote the post. But I won't necessarily tweet my own tweets. A lot of times I'll just be responding to articles. So if you want to, I guess, see my instant reaction to some articles that are on Twitter about certain things, X. It's X. I just call it Twitter, so I'm sorry. But on X, I respond to articles or things that people are saying. That's just something that I like to do there. So, also with TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, the posts I make there, I am very active I'm very active and good at responding to the comments when I do post. Posting schedule has been a little bit wacky, to say the least. I've been trying to figure some things out. My schedule feels like ever changing, but it's also just a lot. So, yeah, I'm starting to finally get back into my rhythm a little bit, and I've been more active than I have been before. So I will be posting a lot more in the future. So if you want to see other content like instant reactions or other things like that, just something more immediate in the moment, genuine reaction versus a more analytical approach on the show, you can go over there as well. Because sometimes I do also reference things from the socials on the show. So I would recommend going and following just the socials for that, or for the show, because I do make references every once in a while to that, because every once in a while I do make some crazy videos where my reactions are, they're fun. And part of the reason why I do reaction videos like that is because, it's kind of funny. Like, people just like the way I react to things. So, at least in person, because it'll be kind of wacky. So, yeah, sometimes I just post those. So, yeah, well, I think this summer, for next week, we're not going to be talking about enhanced games, but NBA playoffs, we're definitely going to be talking about those for sure. And any other kinds of updates or anything else that you guys want to talk about. If you guys want to talk about anything specific, you can message the socials or make a comment on the YouTube. I'll see you guys next time. Slide out.